So after a longer wait than we're much expected to, your 2025 NBA Most Valuable Player is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And after putting up one of the more historic scoring seasons for a guard, averaging 32.7 points per game and almost 64% true shooting, and having that combination of volume and efficiency is something we haven't seen often since Michael Jordan in his prime. And these are one of the years where I think multiple guys have built bulletproof cases to win MVP. You have a guy like SGA who's averaging over 30 points per game, was the scoring champion for this season, also is leading the #1 team in the NBA, winning 68 games, and has been a key contributor to one of the greatest defenses we've seen in the NBA. So instead of talking about SGA for 15 minutes like I probably should be doing, we're going to be making our way too early 2026 MVP prediction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball all the time. My name is John Drummond, and today we are going to be trying to predict the 2026 MVP. And when I was talking about this, I narrowed it down to 5 names, and those 5 names are Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic, and SGA for the second time in a row. So the very first player I'm going to be talking about for my way too early 2026 MVP prediction is Victor Wembanyama. Coming into Victor Wembanyama's second season in the NBA, there was a lot of expectation. There was so much expectation to the point where he was the highest betting odds to win Defensive Player of the Year. He was the highest betting odds to win Most Improved Player. And he even had odds to win the MVP. I believe he finished 9th in those odds to start the year. And I think a lot of those are understandable. You have a guy that's averaging 21 points per game, 11 rebounds going into this rookie year. And when he was on the floor for the San Antonio Spurs, they looked like a way better defense than he was off. So there were a lot of players saying if Victor Wembanyama takes the leap like we expect him to, he should be comfortably a top 10 player in the NBA in his second season playing for a team that is not ready to make the playoffs. And to start off the season, there was a lot of strange things happening with Victor Wembanyama's game, and he struggled a lot. He struggled to attack mismatches like you would want him to, obviously, because he just did not have the strength to attack guys like Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams consistently. He didn't have the handle to put the ball on the floor to kind of take away the fact that he was not the best mismatch attacker or punisher around the rim. And they also had him shooting a lot more threes than you're normally used to. This guy was shooting 9 threes a game to start the season. But then sometime in November, it all switched. Victor Wembanyama from that point on was averaging 25 points per game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks on 37% shooting from the three-point line on 9 3-point attempts a game. He had a bunch of signature performances in that stint as well, having 42 points and 18 rebounds on Christmas Day against the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, proving that he is much CTV and he's going to be the face of this league very soon. Or how about the game where he had 35 points, 18 rebounds, and a win against, at the times, reigning MVP Nikola Jokic in Denver? Or how about the game where he had 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against his future teammate De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings? And the shot making was just insane. Victor Wembanyama was shooting a lot of threes off the dribble. He was doing a lot of one-legged threes, pull-up threes in transition. He had a fantastic layup package. He was finishing around the rim a lot more, especially off lobs and lay-down passes and passes in the pocket. And we're always going to see an amazing block highlight reel from Victor Wembanyama. This was a guy that had just as much three-pointers made as blocks somewhere throughout the season. And throughout this time, it was pretty much stamped that he was a top 10 player in the NBA. And according to how he's taken leaps from season 1 to season 2 and now to season 3, I don't think there's a world to think that he can't win MVP. And then let's talk about the state that the San Antonio Spurs are in. They have the reigning Rookie of the Year in Stephon Castle. You have a top 10 player in Victor Wembanyama, and you have a top 10 to 12 guard in De'Aaron Fox. And let's not talk about how they also have the second pick in the draft, and that could be a main trading piece to go get a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo or draft a guy like Dylan Harper. I think the San Antonio Spurs team is well equipped to be a playoff team, and if Victor Wembanyama plays well enough, there's a world where he can win MVP this season in his 3rd year. And I think that's just a testament to how good Victor Wembanyama is. We don't see a lot of players by their third year be guys that can win MVPs. I mean, we're talking about guys like LeBron James or Luka Doncic, guys that in their third year had a real shot of winning MVP. Now, I think some of the pushbacks would probably be the San Antonio Spurs are going to be playing in a very deep Western Conference, and they still don't have the full 12 to 15 man roster that I think is good enough to be a top tier seed in the Western Conference. When you look at some of the teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Dallas Mavericks, when fully healthy, are very dangerous. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, who I think are going to be getting a lot better. It's just going to be a very deep Western Conference, and I don't know if the San Antonio Spurs are for sure going to be a top 3 seed. So for a guy like Victor Wembanyama, who may be the 6th seed, maybe in the play-in, maybe a 5th seed, he's going to have some really generational numbers. And if I'm projecting, I think this could be a year where he's averaging 26 to 27 points, maybe 11 to 13 rebounds, 4 to 5 assists, and 3 to 4 blocks. But if he comes to next season and he finishes the regular season next year, having a stat line to that degree, and he's shooting 38, 39% on 8 or 9 threes, there is a world where he can win MVP. The next player we're going to be talking about is Anthony Edwards. And in this season, Anthony Edwards averaged 27 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. But the real biggest thing that I want to talk about is the improvement of the three-point shot. This year, Anthony Edwards averaged 40% from 3 on 10 attempts a game, becoming one of the best three-point shooters in the league almost out of nowhere. Last year, Anthony Edwards averaged 36% from 3 on 6 attempts. So to become one of the best three-point shooters in the league on 10 three-point attempts a game and to lead the league in total three-pointers made, that's almost shocking. And I think that shows how fast his growth rate really is. If you're becoming an average shooter to last season to this year, being one of the best three-point shooters in the league, being able to shoot it off the catch, off the dribble, off motion, in pick and roll, I think that's nothing short of amazing. And over the first 61 games of the season, the Minnesota Timberwolves were 32-29. It really didn't look like they were going to make the playoffs at this pace. Now, we all know they traded for Julius Randle right before the season started, and there was a lot of gelling that needed to happen with this team. We all remember the clip of Julius Randle We all know the clip of Julius Randle not passing the ball to Rudy Gobert in the post, and Rudy Gobert getting a 3-second violation towards the end of the game, which caused them a loss to the Toronto Raptors. And there just looked like it was a lot of chemistry issues that they had to work through. But over the last 21 games, the Minnesota Timberwolves finished 17-4. There weren't a lot of better teams than the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that found them into the 6th seed against the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round. And to me, it felt like we are truly seeing how good this Minnesota Timberwolves team and how good they can be throughout the entire regular season next year. When we look at a lot of really good teams in the NBA, they have a few things. Roster versatility. They have the number 1 option. They have multiple big men. They have depth. The Minnesota Timberwolves have 3 guys who can go and start on a lot of teams in the NBA, with guys like Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And I think this team can be good enough to win a lot of games next year and be at the top of the Western Conference. And Anthony Edwards could be averaging 28, 7, and 6. With the level that Anthony Edwards has improved as a three-point shooter and how fast his growth rate is, it wouldn't be crazy to say that Anthony Edwards works on his playmaking, which he's gotten better at throughout the season, and he becomes a better mid-range shooter as fast as next year. So let's say there's a world where Anthony Edwards is averaging 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are winning 55 to 58 games. I definitely think he's going to be in talks of being the MVP for 2026. Now, the next player I want to talk about is Nikola Jokic. Now, we all know how good Nikola Jokic is, and I think this season he has really put in pressure on this front office to put the proper players around him for the Denver Nuggets to be really good. Now, while I do think the Denver Nuggets still have one of the best starting lineups in the NBA, that's where it gets really shaky once we get to the bench unit, because you have guys like Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, and Jalen Pickett, and all these other guys. These guys are known to be guys that would be your 8th or 9th man. I still don't trust Russell Westbrook to be your go-to guy off the bench. I don't think Peyton Watson is there offensively to be your go-to guy off the bench. And I think Nikola Jokic is really putting pressure on this front office to make that better for him. And we all know Nikola Jokic is going to put up the stats. This year he averaged a 30-point triple-double, and it was his best three-point shooting season of his career. But just imagine if the Denver Nuggets put the proper pieces around him to have a better defense and to have a deep roster. I think that's proof for the Nuggets to be the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and for Nikola Jokic to average a 29, 12, and 9 type of season to where he can be winning the MVP once again for the 4th time. I don't think it's crazy to think that SGA can be a back-to-back MVP winner. I think SGA is improving as a passer. I already think he's the best scorer in the league. And if you look at this Oklahoma City Thunder team, there's still some improvements that need to be made, but we can't forget that this is a team that is one of the youngest in the NBA and have the most draft capital in the league. So there's always going to be options for them. Every single target that becomes available, whether it's in the trade deadline, whether it's in the offseason, whether it's in the draft, the Thunder can go get them because they have the pieces that can be moved to go get anybody they want. And I think SGA being a top 4 player in the NBA and constantly having these 60+ win Thunder teams, he's always going to be in the talks to be an MVP. But the last guy I want to talk about to be the NBA MVP in 2026 is Luka Doncic. I don't know why. Maybe it's the Laker fan in me. But it's just talking in my ear. It's just talking in my ear that Luka Doncic will be the MVP next season. I think this year we still saw the fact that Luka Doncic was not fully 100% to come in the season, and I do think he came back a little early just to try and play with his new team. And I don't think people talk about how much stress he was under being traded to a new team without any prior knowledge and being traded from a team that he thought he was going to be with for the rest of his career. If we look at when he came back to Dallas and when he watched his tribute video and how he was crying about it, I still think that weighed on him throughout the entire season. You could tell. And with the Los Angeles Lakers hiring a new strength and conditioning coach, JJ Redick getting better as a player, them having so many options to go get in free agency and to make this team better, and Luka Doncic being on a revenge tour and finally having his mind together to be the MVP and to play at a higher level this season, I think he can do it. Luka Doncic has quickly become one of the most disrespected superstars in the NBA because of how he played in the NBA Finals and how he played throughout the season this year. You had the GM of his former team saying he was overweight. He prioritized defense, even though the Dallas Mavericks were one of the better defenses in the league while Luka Doncic was on the team. I think he's starting to hear some of that disrespect, and I think Luka Doncic is going to respond. Even with one of the worst playoff runs he's had as an NBA player, Luka Doncic still averaged about 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. He's still one of the best playmakers the league has ever seen, and he's still one of the most difficult shot makers the league has ever seen. And to be completely honest, if the Lakers are winning 56 to 58 games, Luka Doncic is averaging 31, 11, and 9. If there's a possibility that this is LeBron James's last season and the Lakers have not had an MVP since 2008, I think Luka Doncic is going to win it. I think it's written in the stars. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to place money on it. I think Luka Doncic is the MVP for next season. I think this is Luka Doncic's MVP revenge tour. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I just feel it in my bones. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my pick to win the 2026 MVP. It is Luka Doncic. And if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATB Sports 1. Make sure you guys follow me on Playback at the Buzzer Sports, where we're going to be watching historic games over the offseason and breaking down rumors. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at the Buzzer Sports, and make sure you follow me on TikTok at ATB Sports ENT. And with all that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.